Good evening. The following program is for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Even though you're probably fucking grown and you should probably grow the fuck up. Welcome. Take your pills, pack a bowl, because packing a bowl is important. So, pack a bowl, grab your smokes, get comfy. Come in. It's story time. It's story time with Nikki K, the Great, because I'm awesome. So, let's smoke it, read it, and drink it. Oh, did I tell you to get your bedtime beverage? Because, yeah, you should probably get that. We are starting a new book. Yeah. Okay. I think this is where. Okay, I lied. We're on chapter 2. We already started a new book. Because, yeah. Did I read the wrong book this morning? Time out. No! I read the right book. I'm fucking retarded. Never mind. Metatai. No. Metata. Metata. This. Thias. Thias. Mattathias and his sons. In those days, we're just going to call him Matt because, yes. In those days, Matt, a priest of the family of Joarib, left Jerusalem and settled in Modian. He had 5 sons. John, who was called Gadidi, Simon, who was called Thassi, and Judas, who was called Maccabees. Okay. Eleazar, he was called Aravin, and Jonathan, who was Apapas. Ephus. When he saw sacrileges that were being committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, "Oh, here we go with this emo bullshit. The Bible, man, these people are so emo and they live to be sad. But okay, woe is me. Why was I born to see the ruin of my people? The ruin of the holy city, to dwell there." I think something's missing right here. It says, to dwell there, as it was given to the hands of the enemy, the sanctuary into the hands of strangers. Her temple has become like a man disgraced. Her glorious vessels carried off as spoils. Yeah, and I don't understand that either. If he was trying to take over both places, why would he take everything? Her infants deleted in her streets. Her youth deleted by the sword of the enemy. What nation has not taken its share of her realm? and laid its hands on her spoils. I know of one country. Yeah. But this is way after you were born, little dude. Don't worry. All her adornment has been taken away. Once free, she has become a slave. We see our sanctuary laid to waste. Our beauty, our glory. The Gentiles have defiled them. Negative Ghost Rider. It was one particular section of people, and they're called Egyptians. No, the Egyptians were taken over too. Who, what? Alexander, oh, Macedonia. But okay. Then Met and his sons tore their garments, did the diaper thing, and mourned bitterly. Pagan worship refused and resisted. The officers of the king in charge of enforcing the apostasy came to the city of Modin to make them sacrifice. Many of Israel joined them, but Matt and his sons drew together. Then the officers of the kings addressed Matt. You are a leader, an honorable, a great man in this city, supported by sons and kindred. Come now, be the first to obey the king's command, as all the Gentiles and Judeans and those who are left in Jerusalem have done. Then you and your son shall be numbered among king's friends. And your son shall be honored with silver, gold, and many gifts. But Matt answered in a loud voice, although the Gentiles in the king's realm obey him, they forsake the religion of their ancestors and consent to the king. Yet I and my sons will keep the covenant of our ancestors. Heaven forbid we forsake the law and the commandments. We will not obey. Never obey, Matt. Never obey. We will not obey the king by departing from our religion in the slightest degree. A certain Jew came forward in the sight of all to offer sacrifice on the altar in Modin, according to the king. When Matt saw him, he was filled with zeal. His heart was moved and his fury arose. He sprang forward and killed him upon the altar. At the same time, he also killed the messenger of the king, and he tore down the altar. Thus showed the zeal for the law, just as Phineas did with Zimri. Then Matthias cried in the city, let everyone who is jealous for the law follow me. Then he and his sons fled to the mountains, leaving behind in the city everything. At the time, many who sought righteousness and justice went to the wilderness to settle there. They and their children, the wives, their animals, because misfortunes pressed hard on them. It was reported to the officers and soldiers who were in Zion in Jerusalem that those who had fled, flouted the king's order, had gone into secret refuges in the wilderness. Many hurried out after them, and having caught up with them, camped opposite and prepared to attack on the Sabbath. The princes said to them, "Enough of this. Come out and obey, and you will live." But they replied, fuck you and fuck your king. Fuck you. Then the enemy attacked them at once, but they did not hesitate. They neither threw stones nor locked up the secret refuges. They said, "Let us die in innocence. Heaven and earth are our witnesses that you destroy us unjustly." So they were attacked on the Sabbath, and they died. At least 1,000 people. When Matt and his friends heard of it, they mourned deeply. Then they said, if we all do as our kindred and do not fight, they will soon destroy us from the earth." And they should. Sorry, Matt, but they should. So on that day, they came to this decision: let us fight against anyone who attacks us on the Sabbath, so we may not all die as our kindred did. Okay, so wait a second. Because I didn't understand this in the Old Testament either. People would go and hide, and then all of a sudden other people would know where they were, and they would just show up. Jonathan and David are a perfect example. Jonathan always showed up. David was alone, and then boom, Jonathan in a window. It's like, how the fuck do the soldiers not find you? Right? Like, people know where you're at. David's family one time came to him in the mountains. How? But they knew where he was. But soldiers there. I don't know. So they were joined by a group of Hasidians. What is that? What is a Hasidian? Should we find out? Why don't we find out? One. I don't know what a Hasidian is. A Jewish group during the Maccabean revolt. So this is from a long time ago. Oh, but okay. But these are different Jews. And all those who were fleeing from the persecutions joined them and supported them. They gathered an army, struck down sinners in their wrath, and the lawlessness in their anger. The survivors fled to the Gentiles for safety. What? What the fuck just happened? Okay. So the Hasidians joined Maccabee, and and all those who were fleeing. So what the fuck just happened? They gathered an army and struck down sinners in their wrath, and the lawless in their anger, and the survivors fled to the Gentiles. I don't know what the hell just happened. Matt and his friends went about and tore down the pagan altars. Okay, so Matt and these Hasidians went and did all this, but okay. They forcibly circumcised any uncircumcised boys who they found in the territory of Israel. Leave the baby's peckers alone. What is these people's obsessions with penis? Okay, maybe that's why the Catholics are so obsessed with penises. They put to flight the arrogant, and the work prospered in their hands. And they saved the law from the hands of the Gentiles. Kings did not let the sinner triumph. They saved the law from Gentiles and kings and did not let the sinner triumph. Okay, so, okay. Farewell to Matt. Goodbye, Matt. When the time came for Matt to die, he said, "Arrogance and scorn have now grown strong. It is a time of disaster and violent wrath. Therefore, my children, be zealous for the law and give your lives for the covenant of our ancestors," right? Remember the deeds that our ancestors did in their times, and you shall win great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham, wasn't Abe found faithful? And it was credited to him as righteousness. Job, when in distress, kept the commandment, and he became master of Egypt. Phineas, for his burning zeal, received the covenant of everlasting priesthood. Joshua, for executing his commission, became a judge in Israel. Caleb, for bearing witness, he got some land. David, for his loyalty. that that is the only thing that, I mean, God and David were like best friends, but David was a fuckwad all the time. So David, for his loyalty, received as heritage a throne of eternal kingship. And it has been mostly shit kings since David. Just want to say that. Elijah, for his burning zeal from the law, for the law. Yeah, but I don't know why people think that's God, though. Nobody said Elijah was God, but okay. Elijah was taken up to heaven. Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, for their faith, were saved from the fire. This is Meshach and Belzazar. Was it Meshach, Belzazar, and Abednego? That's these three. Were saved from the fire. Daniel, for his innocence, was delivered from the mouths of lions. That was a pretty fucking wild story. That Pharaoh could have saved David. He would have never had to go to the lion's den. Ever. And Jesus could have never been killed. Like, these Jews, their Black Lives Matter and Antifa, everybody's fucking scared of them. But for what? And so, consider this from generation to generation, that none who hope in heaven shall fail in strength. Do not fear the words of sinners, for their glory ends in corruption and worms. Today exalted, tomorrow nothing. They have returned to dust. Their schemes have perished. Children, be courageous and strong in keeping the law, for by it you shall be honored. Here is your brother Simeon, who I know is a wise counselor. Listen to him always, and he will be father to you. Why are you pushing this off on this poor little guy? Okay, never mind. And Judas Maccabees, a mighty warrior from his youth, shall be the leader of your army and wage the war against the nations. Gather about you all who observe and avenge your people. Pay back the Gentiles what they deserve and observe the precepts of the law. Yeah, but what about you motherfuckers, what you guys do to God? Who's gonna pay you back for being mean to God? Huh, you killed God. Who's gonna pay you back for that? He blessed them and was gathered to his ancestors. He died in year 146 and was buried in the tombs of his ancestors in Modin. And all Israel mourned him greatly. Did they? All right, 1 second. Okay, so we're gonna go a lot long. But listen, I think this chapter will kind of give us an orientation on if we're in the old people, if we're in the Old Testament times or the New Testament times. Because I have to say, I don't know where we're at. I don't know where we're at orientation wise in the Bible. I don't know. Like, I recognize a lot of these names from the New Testament, but the way it's looking in my mind is very Old Testament-y. Because it's like these people in a mountain built an army and just killed people. That's like an Old Testament thing, so I don't know. So please forgive me if you already know. I'm just trying to figure out where we are in the story. Okay. Then his son Judas, who was called Maccabees, took his place. All his brothers and all who had joined his father supported him, and they gladly carried on Israel's war. He spread abroad the glory of his people and put on his breastplate like a giant. He armed himself with weapons of war. He fought battles and protected the camp with his sword. In his deeds, he was like a lion, like a young roaring for prey. Like a young lion roaring for prey. He pursued the lawless, hunting them out, and those who had troubled his people, he destroyed by fire. The lawless were cowed by fear of him, and evildoers were dismayed. By his hand deliverance was happily achieved. He afflicted many kings. He gave joy to Jacob by his deeds, and his memory is blessed forever. He went about the cities of Judah, destroying the renegades there. Barack Obama. So he went about destroying renegades. He turned away wrath from Israel. He was renowned to the ends of the earth and gathered together those who were perishing. When Apollonius gathered together with the Gentiles, along with the large army from Samaria, to fight against Israel. When Judas learned of it, he went out to meet him and struck and killed him. Many fell wounded, and the rest fled. They took their spoils, and Judas took the sword of Apollonius and fought with it the rest of his life. That's pretty bold, dude. If anything, these people have cojones. But Saran, commander of the Syrian army, heard that Judas had mustered an assembly of faithful men ready for war. He said, I'll make for myself, I will make a name for myself and win honor in the kingdom. I will wage war against Judas and his followers who have despised the king's command. So I'm going to kill the dudes that said, hey, fuck this guy. Right? I'm going to kill them all. I'm going to delete every single one of them. And again, a large company of renegades advanced with him to help him take revenge on the Israelites. When he reached the ascent of Beth Horon, Judas went out to meet him with a few men. But when they saw the army coming, they said, Judas, how can we? Few we are, fight such a strong host as this. Besides, we are weak and we have not eaten today. He said, many are easily hemmed in by a few, and the sights of a heaven. There is no difference between deliverance by many or deliverance by few. Americans need to remember this. A lot of us have home field advantage. We should remember that. For victory in war does not depend on the size of the army, but the strength that comes from heaven. Also, in good strategy. Good strategy helps. With great presumption and lawlessness, they come against us to destroy us, our wives, children, and to despoil us. But we are fighting for our lives and our laws. He will crush them before us. Do not fear them. When he finished speaking, he rushed suddenly upon Saran and his army, who were crushed before him. He pursued Saran down the descent of Beth Horon into the plain. About 800 of their men fell, and the rest fled to the Philistines. Then Judas, his brother, began to be feared, and dread fell upon the Gentiles about them. His fame reached the king, and the Gentiles talked about the battles of Judas. Okay. This is where I think I kind of recognize the names. When King Anti heard these reports, he was filled with rage. He forgot to take his tampon out. So he ordered that all the forces of his kingdom be gathered, a very strong army. He opened his treasury and gave his soldiers a year's pay and commanded them to be prepared for anything. But when he saw that this exhausted the money in his treasury, the tribute from the province was small because of the dissension and distress he had brought upon the land by abolishing the laws which had been in effect from old. He feared that this had happened once or twice. He would not have enough for himself and the gifts he was accustomed, more than all previous kings. Greatly perplexed, he decided to go to Persia and levy tribute on those provinces and so raise a large sum of money. He left Lysias. I think Lysias, remember, in the last book, John, Porcius was waiting for this guy. So he left Lysias, a noble of royal descent in charge of the king's affairs, from the Euphrates to the frontier of Egypt, and commissioned him to take care of his son Anti Jr. until his return. He entrusted to him half of his forces, the elephants, and gave him instructions concerning everything he wanted done. As for the inhabitants of Judea and Jerusalem, Lysias was to send an army against them to crush and destroy the power of Israel and the remnant of Jerusalem, and efface their memory from the place. He was to settle foreigners in all their territory and distribute their land by lot. The king took the remaining half of the army and set out from Antioch, his capital, in the year 147. He crossed the Euphrates River and went to the provinces beyond. Preparations for battle. Lysias chose Ptolemy, son of He chose Ptolemy, Nicanor, and Gorgias, powerful men among the king's friends. And with them he sent 40,000 foot soldiers, 7,000 cavalry, to invade and ravage the land of Judah according to the king's orders. Setting out with their whole force, they came and pitched their camp near Mamos and the plain. When the merchants of the region heard of their prowess, they came to the camp, bringing a huge sum of silver and gold, along with fetters, to buy the Israelites as slaves. A force from Edom and Philistia joined with them. Wow, when did these two start getting along? But all right. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Judas and his brothers saw that the evil had multiplied and that armies were encamped within their territory. They had learned of the orders which the king had given to destroy and utterly wipe out the people. Yeah, but who told you that? Who? Because I'm pretty sure. How did you know that? Okay. So they said to one another, let us raise our people from their ruin and fight for them and our sanctuary. The assembly gathered together to prepare for battle and to pray and ask for mercy and compassion. Okay. Jerusalem was inhabited like a wilderness. Not one of her children came in or went out. The sanctuary was trampled on, and foreigners were in the citadel. It was a habitation for Gentiles. Joy had disappeared from Jacob, and the flute and harp were silent. Thus they assembled and went to Mizpah, because formerly Mizpah was a place of prayer for Israel. When? Okay. That day they fasted and did the diaper thing. They sprinkled ashes on their head and tore their garments. Yeah, but where did that come from? That did not become a thing until David was in the mountains and the little dude killed Saul. And then David killed the little dude for killing Saul, because David had no chill. Okay. I don't know where that came from, by the way. And the horns on the altar. When we go back and read in the Old Testament, it'll tell us all about horns on an altar. But it doesn't tell us where it came from. They unrolled the scroll of the law to learn about the things for which the Gentiles consulted the images of their idols. Hold on. So they did the diaper thing, and then they unrolled the scroll of the law to learn about the things for which the Gentiles consulted the images of their idols. Yeah, but how would you know that? Are you talking about the people slashing themselves in the mountain? Like the thing against Samuel? Why would you want to learn about the Gentile stuff when you want to know about your stuff? Why would you care about the Gentiles? Okay. See, I don't understand. They brought with them priestly garments, first fruits, the tithes, and they brought forward the Nazarites who had completed the time of their vows. Is that still a thing? Wow. Samuel and Samson were Nazarites, and they cried aloud to heaven, "What shall we do with these, and where shall we take them? For your sanctuary has been trampled on, profaned, and your priests are mourning and humbled. Now the Gentiles are gathered together against us to destroy us. You know what they plot against us. How shall we be able to resist them unless you help us?" When they blew the trumpets and cried out loudly, "Blow fucking trumpet! Ah, look, look, they blow the fucking trumpet." They pray, then blow the trumpet. I've been saying that. I need to do that. How do you get a trumpet? I want to get a trumpet. I'll go outside and pray. How do you buy a trumpet? I want to buy a trumpet. I bet you Dustin would be so fucking mad if I bought a trumpet. I bet everybody would be mad as fuck if I bought a trumpet. But I'm telling you, I'd buy a trumpet. After this, Judas appointed officers. Okay, so they did the same thing that David used to do. He would appoint people by groups. And he proclaimed that those who were building houses or were just married or doing any of that stuff could go home according to the law. Oh, this is the thing they did. God said, "You have too many people." And then he picked them by lapping up the water. Oh, man. Maccabees is insane. Listen to this. Then the army moved off, and they camped to the south of Emmaus. Judas said, "Arm yourselves, be brave. In the morning, be ready to fight these motherfuckers who have assembled to destroy us. Fuck these guys." Right? It is better for us to die in battle than to witness the devils befalling our nation and sanctuary. Whatever is willed in heaven will be done. Oh, yeah. See, this guy did almost everything they used to do in old time battles. And he blew a trumpet. See, that's what I've been saying. Somebody's got to pray for our country. Well, a lot of people got to pray and then blow a trumpet. Yeah, see, I've been saying that. Go back in my old videos. I'm like, blow a fucking trumpet all the fucking time. Man, that's insane because I've been saying that. Wow, he blew a trumpet. I love that guy. Man, I don't know, but I think he's cool. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. Oh my God, it's been a long ass time. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm going back to watch the Murdaugh trial over here. I was watching it with Uncivil Law. That guy is so amusing. Anyway, well, I watched it earlier with Emily D. Baker, and she's wild too, but I want to see what Uncivil Law says. Anyway, so I'm going back to watching that. So thank you for watching me. Don't forget, you stayed this long, press like, scroll down and see if you press like, and make sure you press subscribe. And while you're down there, just comment hi. I'll say hi to you back in my video, so don't even worry about it. Anyway, thank you for watching. I love you and have the greatest day ever. No, I'm lying. Have the sweetest dreams ever.